Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am Kaiba Jesus, and I'm a Blue Eyes player, and I just thought I'd start doing some deck profiles on my Blue Eyes decks. So if you stay subscribed or following me, hopefully in the future you'll see more Blue Eyes deck posts. This one's my Chaos Max build, if you can't tell already, and I think my next deck idea is going to be a fusion deck profile for the new quote-unquote master rule of 5. So I look forward to that. But yeah, so I've been playing this deck for a couple years now. It's kind of my main deck that I play going to regionals and local tournaments. And so I just kind of tweak it here and there and try to really push it to, the limits that it can go. So anyway, let's get right into it. So I will say that one reason why I've seen a lot of Chaos Max deck profiles, and I just noticed that mine profile is a little different, and I'd like to just share that with everyone to kind of give them different ideas, and help other people, and maybe you guys could help me in the comment section. I don't know, I just like to help people, and hopefully other Chaos Max fans or players can get something out of this video. So first, we start off with 3 Chaos Max Dragons, and then Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon, just one. And the reason why I play just one of him is because, especially right now with how heavy the links have been, it's really hard to really use his effect to the fullest because link monsters can't go to defense mode. But against like a XYZ player, like if they end up with a lot of boards like that, or even just a normal board with like synchros and stuff, he's a really good card to use, because if you summon him with a Blue Eyes White Dragon, then he can attack, and all the monsters on your opponent's side of the field that can go to defense mode, all of the monsters get switched to 0/0 attack and defense, and then you use Chaos Max, hopefully at the same time, to hit the 0/0s, and pretty much go for game there. So, and they pretty much have the same effects, except his second effect, you have to use a Blue Eyes White Dragon when it comes to that. Otherwise, he just has the can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. Then I run 2 Incantation Chalice Slimes. I find him really useful because you can reveal him and then pop him to summon an incantation monster from your deck, and then that way you can get your plays going. Or if you need to push through some plays, he's a good resource. And also he's a ritual monster, and you can get more resources by, like, if you have one of the Incantation Talismandra or Pensaplume, then you can use their effect on him to search and special summon from the deck another incantation monster. So overall, he's good. He's kind of a key card for ritual decks, in my opinion. So the next is 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons. Now, I've seen some people play 3, and with me, I just noticed that he comes bricky. I mean, he's already kind of a brick to begin with, but I mean, I never want to see him in my hand for the most part, because I run advanced ritual art, and so I like to have him in the deck more. But I mean, if I do have him, it's not a problem, because if I do end up summoning incantation monsters, then I can always sack both of them and summon Blue Eyes off of that, and then have another beater on the board. But yeah, I think three's enough. Two's enough. Otherwise, the third one becomes a brick, and it's you just see it too much then, more than you want, and you don't really need it. And then I run one Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, and one's all you need in my opinion. I think I have seen some people run three, and I just like three of each actually, and I just think that's just way too much. You don't need that much, but obviously that's just my opinion too. I like this ratio in my opinion because if you really need to, you can search these off of Melody, or like if you're in a bind, or you can just search off of your ritual monsters. So, but yeah. Then I run 3 of the Zaborg Mega Monarch. And the reason why I run him, if you don't know, is his effect is you can tribute this card by tributing one tribute summon monster, or you can just tribute summon him normally and then target one monster on the field and destroy it. And most of the time, you just choose him because if it's a light monster that well, wait, sorry. I'll get into the light monster thing in a second. But pretty much though, you choose him, send him to the graveyard, and or if your opponent has any big monsters that you want to get rid of. But one thing you want to keep in mind is the level. So pretty much for every level that you have for the monster that you send, that's how many cards you send from the extra deck to the graveyard. So I choose him most of the time because he's 8 and pretty much his job is done, because that's all I use him for in the deck is to get stuff to the grave. So you pop him, and if you use a light monster, well, actually, his effect works on both, actually, if I didn't say that before. It works on both your extra deck and your opponent's. But the thing is, if you tribute summon him, and one of those monsters that you tributed was a light monster, then you get to choose what cards they send. Otherwise, they just send 8 cards from the extra deck to the grave, and it can really mess up some people's strategies because a lot of people play extra deck monsters. So he's a good way to get a lot of resources too, because you want to send out of yours Herald the Arclight and Elder Entity Natis, and pretty much then with Natis you can just get rid of 3 problematic cards on your opponent's side of the field, as long as they can be targeted and destroyed. You can do that. So anyway, but yeah, no, this is a really, really good guy in the deck. I highly recommend running him. Sometimes I wonder if I should just run 2. But right now I just run 3, and I think it's good. So, and then the incantation engine that I run is 2 of the Incantation Talismandra, 2 of the Bookstone, 2 Pensaplume, and 2 Candle. Now, the reason why I run 2 of each is because these 2 guys you don't want to see in your opening hand as much as you want to see these guys. Because if you use these guys' effects, then you can special summon these guys, and these guys are the ones that summon from the deck, where these guys add cards from the graveyard to your hand. So these guys are nice extenders, but these guys are the ones that really get your board made. So if anything, I mean, this is something you guys can test around with. Nothing, it's not a complicated thing really. Just kind of test it out, see what works for you. I wouldn't run more than 2 of these guys in my opinion, but if you want to bump up these guys to 3, then I'd say that's good. Or if you want to run the Manju in the deck instead of Zaborg, then I would take out the 3 Zaborgs, put 3 Manju in, and then maybe take, like, do something like that then. But that's really something you guys can play with. But right now, this is what I'm running, and I've had consistency with it. I think it's great. I haven't had any issues. So yeah. And then another, I'm not sure if you want to call it a tech, but another monster I run, and I haven't seen anyone else run this, surprisingly. I'm sure there has been people, but I haven't seen any videos online running this, but it's 3 Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. Now with her, I like running her because pretty much summon her, link her off, graveyard effects, summon, and then hit her with Chaos Max, and that's game. So it's just an easy way to attack your opponent without having to go after their problematic monsters, in my opinion. But yeah, so I don't know why people don't run her. She works most of the time for me. I mean, I've never had any issues personally, and I haven't had any regrets running her. So I just say that's something that you might want to try out if you have her. And she's also fairly affordable now. And then I just run 1 danger, and that's Thunderbird, just for back row removal, and then also just to help me extend to like a XYZ Galaxy Eyes package, just to help kind of extend late plays or something like that, and also just draw power. So thought about running Bigfoot, but I have enough like destruction stuff, so I just thought just go with Thunderbird, and it does most of the job that I need. So, and it's never really a dead card either, so it helps. And then I run only 3 hand traps. This is with this meta, especially with the regional coming up this weekend that I'm going to. It's been kind of rough trying to figure out what to run, and I want to run more, but my deck's already big. But yeah, so I run Ash Blossom, 1 Effect Veiler, and 1 Drolling Lockbird. Now, I was running 2 Ashes, and with Spiral being a big thing now with Magician Souls, I feel like Drolling Lock should be the most ran, because I see a lot of people citing that right now. And I thought about taking him out for another Droll, but I might just side in for another Droll. I really don't know yet. It's kind of up in the air. Or I might just add another Droll, because I feel like Droll and Lock right now would be the most effective card for the meta at this time. But we'll see. But right now, this is just what I got in the main deck side. I do have some extra hand traps, but yeah, right now that's what I'm running. And those are all the monsters. And let's see here. And it's a whopping 29 monsters, which I know is overwhelming. This is a 50 card deck, if I didn't say that earlier. But I feel like actually my running it as 50 has actually helped kind of spread out the bricks, if that makes sense. I don't know, I feel like I've become more consistent, because I was running 45 and I did have some issues with bricking from time to time, but I added in some more cards and that helped a lot. So, but yeah, let's get on to the spells. I run 3 Extra Foolish Burials. This card is essentially like a Rhoda for you in a sense, because what you do is you pay half your life points and you send one of your extra deck monsters to the grave. So pretty much what Zaborg does in theory, but you only send one instead of 8 or whatever the level of monster is that you destroy. And that way, if I, have this and one incantation monster, I can use this, send Herald to the grave, and then use Herald's effect to bring either a spell or monster for rituals to my hand, and then I can start my play that way, or extend that way too. And then also, you can use it just on Elder Entity, and then like if you just need to pop a card, just activate it, Elder Entity, and then pop it. So yeah. And then next is the ritual cards, ritual spells. I run 2 Chaos Forms and 2 Advanced Ritual Art. I feel like this is a good ratio. I was running the Incantation Ritual, but I feel like I just didn't need it. And I was running it just because I do end up with ritual incantation monsters on the field all the time. And I could use that to also ritual summon Chaos Max on the board with that. Where Chaos Form is limited, you have to have exactly 8 if you want to use your incantation monsters. You got to have exactly 8 levels combined. You can't go over. And of course, with this, it's just from deck. So, but yeah, I think this is a good ratio. I mean, you only have 2 blue eyes that you run that you can use this for. So 2's all you really want. And then these, I mean, you could run a 3rd one, but I feel like this is consistent enough that I haven't really needed it. So yeah. And then I run 1 Bingo Machine Go. I've seen some people run 2. And I mean, it could work, especially with how many Blue Eyes monsters you have, but I think 1's good for this deck, at least this build. Never had any need for it to run 2. But yeah, and it's also, if you just run 1, and plan for 1, it's a little more budget friendly than trying to get 2 right now. So, but yeah, it works for me, and don't have any issues with it. So then got more searchers. We got 3 Melody of the Awakening Dragon, and you can use this to search any of your Blue Eyes monsters. So rituals, normal Blue Eyes, and alternative. And also you can, use this effect also to send, the danger and get the dangerous effects to go off too. So that is almost a staple in most Blue Eyes decks. Then with how many level 8s we're running, this is definitely essential. Running 3 trade-ins just to give you extra draw power, and definitely comes in handy, especially because sometimes if I have not really a dead hand, but if I want to extend more, I'll use this and get like one of my rituals and then like a normal Blue Eyes or something, or even, yeah, so something like that, and then just use a trade-in on one of them and get my 2 cards off the deck. Then these are the ones that you can mix and match with whatever. I like to run Book of Moon because you want your opponent's monsters in defense mode, and also if you have this down on the field, like set, and they're going through their plays or whatever, you can interrupt them. It's a good interruption. Target one of their face-up cards on the field, change to defense, and then when it's face-down defense, when it goes to face-down defense, they can't link it, they can't do anything with it. It's just a dead card. So it's one way to stop them. especially if they're just going off and off, and then they're down to like one monster to do something with. It's just one way to interrupt them and maybe even stop their combo. Otherwise, just mess with them and then also get them in defense mode for your Chaos Max. And then also an enemy controller. This has come up pretty good for me. I really like it too because one thing that is really hard is with the incantations, you can't summon extra deck monsters. So if you go into your, try to go to rank 8s, it's really hard with them on the board. So sometimes I like to activate the second effect where you tribute a monster. So I mostly would tribute my incantation monster and then take control of my opponent's monster and then either link off or do something with that. And like one example is I was going against a Shaddoll fusion deck and they summoned a Boral Sword and I went second and I took their Boral Sword and just sacrificed him for a regular Blue Eyes and got rid of that problem pretty quick. So that really comes in handy. But it's mostly just to get rid of problematic monsters and also just put them in defense mode if you don't have any monsters. And this is just another one I run is Creature Swap. Take your opponent by surprise, go in game 1 at least, or game 1. Pretty much if you have an incantation monster on the field, give them one of your incantation monsters and they'll give you one of theirs and then attack into your incantation. And all incantations are 0/0s as well. So them being 0/0, you use Chaos Max to attack into them for game. And that's another kind of hard play to play around because it's not targeting or anything. It's them choosing what to give you. So it's a nice way to really also get rid of some problem monsters because once they give it to you, it's yours. Like it's not till end of turn or anything. So if you also just need something like just summon, like sometimes if I just need to, I'll summon an incantation monster or any small monster and then activate that and then take, like if they only have one monster on the board or something, then I'll be like, okay, well give me that monster, pretty much. So I don't know. I like the card. It really works with the deck. So, and then since we do so much searching, and drawing, I run 2 Called by the Grave. I was going to run 3, but I needed space. I mean, I wish I could run 3. Same thing with the hand traps. I wish I could run an extra droll or something, but I'm trying to keep it at 50. I don't want to go over 50 because then it becomes really, really heavy. And this is my this weekend actually is the first tournament I'm going to with this 50 card deck, but I'm actually feeling really good about it. So I don't let the number of the cards like stray you away from at least trying out and seeing how you do with that. Then I run One Monster Reborn, and a lot of people I've seen, I don't know why, I know Return of the Dragon Lords is a really good card for Blue Eyes and other dragon decks, but Return of the Dragon Lords, I mean, the second effect of it's really great, but it's, I don't know, it's really hard to use it in this deck because you can only use it really on the 2 normal Blue Eyes and Alternative Dragon, as long as he was special summoned to the field, I believe, first before he was sent to the grave. But you can't use it on the rituals because they can only be, it says on their card that they can only be summoned by ritual summon. They can't be summoned any other ways. So that's kind of a bummer, but so anyway, I run this because then I can reborn any of my other monsters or my opponent's monsters, especially something like I don't want them to have back, like even like an Appaloosa or something, something that I can use at least, or just keep away from them. Another thing too is if you play the Orcus match, I do run Dingirsu in here, so you can reborn Galatea and then summon Dingirsu a lot easier that way. So, but yeah, that's just what I do for that. And then I just run one Infinite Impermanence, mostly because that's all I can afford to run. But I feel like it's all you need. Maybe I would add another one and take out an Effect Veiler for sure then. But it's probably the best trap going first or second for this deck. Because if you go first, set it. If you go second, play it from hand. So, but yeah. And that rounds up, and that should be 20 spells in one trap. And now let's go to the extra deck. For the extra deck, I run one Link Disciple. And the reason I run him is because I'll link summon him off of Nightmare Corruptor Ibly. And then go into that whole combo or thing that I explained earlier. But also his second effect is, so what you do is you want to summon Ibly first. Otherwise you can't do this whole thing if you do the incantation thing first, because then you won't be able to summon him, and then your Ibly is pretty much useless. But if you summon him, and then he points down, and if you have a incantation monster or anything, I like to use his effect to pop one, and then draw one, and then you place, pretty much you add one card from draw one card, and then take one card from your hand and place it on the bottom of the deck. And I just feel like it's another extender, just to dig through your deck and then get rid of a card that you don't really need. So I really like that. And then I run a Link Karibo because later in my side deck, you'll see I run Instant Fusion. And what I really want to do is get Gravity Controller when it comes out. And then that would replace this, just because I think Gravity Controller is a better card, in my opinion. Even though Link Karibo does have that nice kind of defensive effect. But yeah, I use him. So when I Instant Fusion into Thousand Eyes Restrict, then I can get rid of their monster by linking it off, and then I'm not locked into the Thousand Eyes Restrict effect. Then pretty much the most essential card in this deck is 3 Herald of the Arclight. And pretty much whenever this card is sent to the grave, you can add 1 ritual spell or monster from your deck to your hand. And so that's why you run 3, because with the Borg or the extra Foolish Burial, you can send these and then just dig through your deck a lot more, and makes everything more consistent. Then along with your play that you run, just sending Elder Entity Natis into the grave. And that's all, like, those 3 and these 3 is just graveyard fodder. Just get him to the grave, use their effects, and then that's pretty much it. And then whenever she's sent to the grave, you you can target 1 card on the field and then destroy it. So, excuse me. So, and then another card I do run in here is a Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And it's actually not to summon. The only reason why I run him is because his last effect is when a card or effect that is activated that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate the activation and destroy. So if for some reason they get rid of like Effect Veiler or something, Chaos Max, and his cannot be targeted effect gets negated, then I can use this to pretty much protect him, essentially. So that comes in handy. It's just a nice little reassurance. Never had. I think I only used it once during a cubic match, but other than that, never had to use it. But it's always nice to have like kind of a like peace of mind, I guess you can say. So then for the instant fusions, I run 2 Thousand Eyes Restrict, just in case if I need to go into it twice. Usually if I side, I'll side in all 3 instant fusions, so that way I can just, if they have a problematic monster that I need to get rid of, and get rid of it, and then they make another board, then I can make another one, pretty much. So, yeah. Then for the XYZ package, I run Galaxy Ice Cypher Dragon, and then Galaxy Ice Cypher Blade, Galaxy Ice Full Armor, and then I run 1 Dingirsu. And he's mostly for the Orcus matchup, but also because of his first effect is you can detach 1 material if any cards you would control would be destroyed by battle or effect. You can detach it, and that saves everything from getting destroyed. So I thought that was a pretty nice little thing to add in here. And then, especially if I get him out with a Chaos Max or anything, it's just more extra safety. And then what I like to do with these guys is, if I can summon him first, or go into him full armor during my main phase 1, then I'll use his effect to detach 1 material from him, and then target 1 face-up card on the field and destroy it. And then during main phase 2, then pretty much do it again with Cypher Blade, where you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it as well by removing material. So I thought that just comes in handy. So just a lot of destruction cards mostly. So, and then the side deck. Side deck I kind of tweaked a lot here and there throughout the past couple of weeks, trying to figure out the meta. But so I run 1 evenly matched, and the reason why I run 1 is because I also run 2 Nibiru's, and I don't have a third one, so I just figured an evenly match would work. And in some cases I'd rather, I'd lose my battle phase if I go second, but I'd rather have that and then set up a board of 2, maybe 3 Chaos Max Dragons, so they have something to deal with, than me trying to combo off and then have negate after negate after negate, So that's just something I thought would be really good. And then, of course, these guys, with how much summoning most decks are doing now, I feel like it's essential right now on the side. Then I run a Twin Twister, and then 2 Cosmic Cyclones. Pretty much just to get rid of back row decks, Altergeist, and I guess you could say, for these guys at least, for the Salamangreat, just get rid of the roar and stuff, just instead of having them just keep reoccurring all those. And then the 3 instant fusions I talked about earlier, just for the Thousand Eyes Restrict. I keep saying relinquished. Just to get rid of problematic monsters. Then I run 2 Ghost Ogres. I was running 3, but I needed to make room for a couple other cards, which I'll mention later. And like I said, 15 cards never feels like it's enough. Like, I think they should make it 20, but then I guess that might make it even more broken for everyone. I don't know. Then I run 2 DD Crow, just to banish cards out of my opponent's graveyard that I don't want them bringing back or anything like that. And then I run 1 Lava Golem, just kind of like a 2 monster kaiju in a sense, and then they also lose 1,000. So I will say though, it sucks because he does take up a normal summon, but with this deck you don't really do a lot of normal summons. So, and it's just also just a good way to get rid of more than one monster. So if you can't decide, it's kind of nice to have, just be like, well, I can't decide between one or the other, well, I'm just going to get rid of both, you know? So that's a good thing for this guy. He's kind of still iffy on, like, I mean, he's not like that great, but he does what you need it to do and get rid of problematic monsters. And he's also a level 8, so you can use him as trade-in if you don't really need him. And then I just run 1 Kaiju, Gamma and that way I have the option if I want to get rid of 1 or 2. And he's also a level 8, so you can use him for trade-in if you don't really need him. So, yeah. And then that pretty much sums it up. Pretty much, I can do a test hand really quick for you to kind of show you kind of what you're going to expect from this. But yeah, while I'm doing this, I'll explain a little bit too. Going to a regional this weekend, and just trying to test this out and do this video kind of showing and talking about pretty much my deck, how it works, and that way I can come back from the regional and discuss it with you guys, tell you what worked, what didn't work, and just kind of elaborate on what I wish I had more of, especially with side deck cards, plays that I could advise you on with, like, don't do this or do that or anything like that. Just want to help you guys out if you guys are still, learning or still trying to figure out if you really want to play Chaos Max or anything. For sure, it's a great card to play at, or deck to play at locals. I'm just trying to pretty much push it so maybe hopefully someday get a top with Chaos Max. I know it's going to be near impossible, but a man can dream, right? So anyway, I feel like I've done enough shuffling, and let's go from there. Okay, so opponent cuts, and then draw your 5 cards. All right, so say you go second. Well, there you go. That's pretty much as long as you don't get stopped and they have an open board, this is pretty much game right here. So activate Foolish Burial, send, we'll keep it right there. Send 1 Herald, search deck for Candle, not Candle, sorry. I was thinking Mizaborg and stuff like that. Advanced Ritual. So search that, and then do your Ibly. Link her off for Disciple, and then summon her to your opponent's board. Just put her right there so she's seen. And then you can do Advanced Ritual Art. Send Blue Eyes from the deck. And then summon Max. And then battle phase, game. So then, yeah. So I'll do one more test hand for you. Also will say I don't have like a professional editing thing, so that's why none of this is going to be cut or edited. This is my first video on YouTube, so you gotta bear with me a little bit. But yeah, I'm just gonna shuffle up again and show you a little more of what you can do with this deck. That was probably like, yeah, that was very OTK, but if it was stopped, then you almost had nothing else to extend on. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, so draw my 5, and this is once again pretty great hand. Pretty much can do the same exact thing. You can usually bait out your opponents if they have a hand trap. Use Bingo Machine Go. That's what I always go for first. And then Bingo, let's just say, for just plain purposes, let's just say everything goes through. So you pretty much reveal 3 cards, and then clearly it's going to be a Chaos Max Dragon, but sometimes you can, if you already have one and you need to throw something else in there, you can throw any other monsters in, or even the spell, and then just hope for luck of whatever. But yeah, so then put that in grave, and then you can even do yeah, so pretty much do the whole Nightmare Corruptor Iblis and link her off for Disciple, then summon Chaos Max, send Blue Eyes, and then attack for game. Or if you really want to, you can send this. I mean, it's, I guess, could be a good extender. If you want to pop one problematic monster, you could do something like this. Activate that. Where are you? Bring a Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Alternative. And then reveal, special summon. And then you can either use his effect to pop, or if you are feeling lucky, you can use Link Disciple's effect to destroy him and then draw a card, which would have been Chaos Form. Or you can use his effect to pop and then sack these 2 for Blue Eyes White Dragon. But yeah, but mostly that was the main thing, is you could use Max on Iblis, and that's why I think it's a really good tech. I mean, I don't know why anyone hasn't played her. I mean, I think it's a great idea, in my opinion. You know, give your opponent a 0/0 monster and go for the OTK. But yeah, anyway, this video has been long enough, almost 45 minutes. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. And hear any ideas that you guys have too to help me. So hopefully this helps people that are building and gives you some ideas. And I'll come back after the regional and I'll give you kind of an update on how everything went. Have a good one. Thanks.